Sometimes I usually make jokes when I make my videos, when I will say the way this country operates, because of the civilization and the mind my business culture, someone can die and be in their apartment or their house for a very long time without being discovered. This is actually, unfortunately, the case of a 61-year-old South African, Sheila Salone. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce the name properly. A medical secretary whose body was found 2 years later on the sofa in her apartment in London.
Dead for years, but no one noticed. There are flowers outside her flat, but marks on the door show where police finally broke in. Inside, they found the remains of Sheila Salone.
This happened in Peckham. Peckham is an area in London or in England that is very popular, known to be a place for most Black or Africans. This woman's body was discovered around February 2022, but this woman might have died since 2019. How is this possible? How did they miss it? What happened? Didn't she have neighbors?
She used to get out of breath a lot, because I used to help her with her shopping sometimes. Yeah, no one came, really, to visit her or anything. So it's really sad.
Sheila lived in this block in Peckham. When police entered her top floor flat on Friday, her remains had decomposed so much they found a skeleton on the sofa.
Yeah, one day you saw her and one day you didn't.
She just disappeared?
Yeah. We thought she moved out, so it's really sad that literally she was right there and nobody knew.
Then she had family. She was working. She was a medical secretary. That means she had a job where she had to report to. She had neighbors. What happened to all the bills that were coming? What happened to her utility? What happened to her rent? She was living in this apartment, in a busy apartment. So there is no way nobody has noticed her not going for shopping, not going to work. I don't know. This is actually a very concerning, very troubling issue. I've thought about it. I've thought about the possibility, but for it to actually happen in this UK is actually very, very sad. This woman's only known relative, brother that lives in the UK, is a known ex-convict of murder. So there was no relationship between him and the sister. He never was in contact with her, even though they both live in London. And then the only family that she has again is a sister back in South Africa. There was no information about this woman. Nobody knew when she died. The neighbors allegedly claimed, especially the neighbor that was living just below her, said they were hearing footsteps even few months after she had died and even few months before her body was discovered. But it is possible that there was a scaffolding that was erected for them to repair some things. So it is alleged that it is possible it's just a break-in, someone who all of a sudden have decided to go check out what is happening in the house, or just to have a layover or to look for something to steal, because her window was found flipped open. When the police officers broke into the property, they found that the door was locked from behind and her body was on the sofa with balloons. Dead, her skeleton found after 2 good years.
And it was really, really, really strange on Friday when the police came banging in the door saying that someone was living there. And all of the neighbours on my floor all came out and said, no one's not been living there for over 2 years.
But many residents complained of a strong rotting smell in the summer of 2019.
It just smelt like meat that was just rotting and rotting and rotting. I don't know, it's a smell that I can't describe. I've never smelled death before.
The building where she rents is a building owned by a charity organization that gives those buildings for cheaper. They are called Peabody. Peabody owns the property. And it is alleged that at some point when the neighbors were perceiving smell, I think about 2 years ago, they kept reporting to the owners of these buildings, but nothing was done. They found a bicycle that has not been moved for those years and nothing was done. It is now when the utility people decided that they were done with, maybe she's not been paying her bills. When the police went, they found about a month-old notice placed on her door to say they were coming to visit the property if she doesn't come to pay her bills. And even the police that were involved within the 2 years period when they've complained of the smell of the abandoned bicycle, and even when they noticed that the mails were getting full, because if you're in the UK, you will appreciate the fact that you get mails almost every 2 days or every week. Somebody's coming to drop a mail for you. So her mailbox was getting filled and overfilled and spilling over. Even with all this concern, they said they've informed the police severally, they've informed the owner of this property severally. Even when the police came, the police allegedly said they visited the property and there was no sign of the woman not being safe, and actually reported that the woman was safe. It is also very sad because her body has been there, or her skeleton has been there for the past 2 years, that actually right now it is almost impossible to identify the cause of death. But the report has now stated that she must have died a natural death. But who knows? Who knows what happened to her, because it's been ages, it's been years. How are they able to do autopsy? Now, Peabody, the owner of the property, now they've been nice enough to now help repatriate her body back to her home country for a burial. There was a burial that took place at Credin Crematorium after her body has been discovered, which was just attended by just 2 people. Although the neighbors and the other people living in the property claimed that they were not informed because the property owner did not inform them about her burial. It is just her brother who visited and one representative that were at her burial, which was just organized for her. Her body was sent back to South Africa, and for the first time, a passport photo picture was found of her. That means it's possible she's not on any social media platform. She doesn't have any trace. How does she not have a friend? She had colleagues. Was she battling with depression? What happened? Why was she so isolated?
But this isn't the first time someone's death has gone unnoticed for years in London. In 2006, the body of Joyce Vincent was discovered 3 years after she had died in her flat in Wood Green. She still had her TV on. This documentary was later made about her life and death. Few details are known about this case, though we do know Sheila Selane was 61 and was last seen around September 2019.
What's the general feeling in the building?
Doesn't feel right. Everyone's just in shock.
I feel sorry for her family. It's raised some massive concerns for myself as a single woman, living alone.
In a statement, the Peabody Housing Trust told us they did make repeated checks and are still investigating all the actions taken in this case.
Why is it that nobody in the past 2 years wondered where this woman was? Her colleague never wondered why she didn't show up. Her neighbors never wondered why her door was not open, or did all the neighbors move out and other people came in? And actually, surprisingly, Peabody has said they're going to refurbish that property and they're going to rent it out. But as I speak to you, as at the time of reporting, they've not even done anything. The door is still as shut as it was for the past 2 years. So what happened? Where did everything go wrong? Where did they all miss it? How come? How was she missed? How can you just miss a whole human? It's not as if she was living in the forest. It's not as if she's on exile. She was living in an apartment. How can you have an apartment that you know somebody was living in and you don't have any trace, you don't see anybody? The door has been shut for 2 years and nobody noticed. She's not been paying rent for 2 years. Is it direct debit? debit, or I don't understand. Maybe she accessed direct debit and the money just kept going to the property. Her money may just keep going out and going out. But how did everybody just miss it? And she doesn't have a family. Her mother and Delina migrated from Eastern Cape in 1954 to work as a housekeeper for a doctor in London. I guess since then she never went back. I don't know what became of her. But this lady we're talking about, Sheila, or this woman, Sheila, was born and bred and raised in London. That means she must know the nooks and crannies she's had all her life here. How is it that nobody ever had a trace of her? How is it that nobody ever knew that she was dead for the past 2 years? How is it that she was missed? Her office, what were they doing? What happened? Did she resign? Is it that she resigned and then went home and died? Or what happened? Why is that nobody asked of her? Although right now her brother, who almost has never seen her or has not seen her for ages, is now demanding for proper investigation. But where was this brother all this while that this woman died? Where is her family? More investigations are being carried out. I'm going to be leaving the link to this news in the description box, but it is actually a very, very sad story. I've just come to tell you that, please, if you're abroad, because I don't think this can happen back in Africa, you know, even before you wake up, if somebody does not see you for 2 days, somebody will be knocking at your gate to say, "Mommy, stop, somebody, where have you been? We've not seen you in church. We've not seen you at the office. We've not seen you where." They will always have their nose in your business. I think this is good in some way, because I don't think this can happen except the person is on exile in Africa. But if you are abroad, even though this also speaks to myself, because I'm kind of, I stay within my zone, but at least I've got my family, I've got my church member, I've got my work colleague. If they don't see you, they should be able to ask for you, and you should try to have somebody, at least one person that will be able to look for you, somebody that you can speak to, somebody that can look for you, somebody that can actually watch your back. It doesn't have to be your best friend. It doesn't have to be a best friend. It can be somebody from work that has your contact. I don't know how this has happened, but if you're abroad, there's tendency that there should be loneliness. But I don't think she can even term herself as being abroad because she was born here. So I'm sure she doesn't know any other life. She doesn't know life back in South Africa. This is what she knows. So I don't really understand how this has happened, but unfortunately it happened. In February, her body was discovered. Somebody that must have died, or that is suspected to have died since 2019. How come her body was just discovered in February 2022? This is actually a mystery that I don't think anybody will be able to resolve. If you know somebody, please check on them. Make sure they're fine. It's just sad. It's just sad. Thank you so much for watching. I hope we stay safe and keep in touch. Thank you. Bye.